Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Found in Interpretation podcast. Once again, I'm one of your co-hosts, Alain Breton, and I'm here with Brian. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. And we're here also with Chris Rosen. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome. It's a
Excellent.
beautiful day.
All right, let's kick it. Welcome, Chris. Chris is the owner of an AV company called Global Interpretation. Chris travels all over the United States and perhaps even around the world to make sure that we have the best setup. I had the opportunity of meeting Chris last February in Las Vegas. It was a huge event, and Chris was super professional, super cool. His guys are amazing, and we thought that he would be an amazing guest on our website. Chris, anything you want to add up about that?
No, I appreciate the love. Thank you for having me on the show today. It's been a great experience getting to know you, getting to know Brian as well, and being a part of this. Once I heard you guys had a podcast, I thought it'd be a great idea to come in and see if I can help share a little bit of knowledge on the tech side of things. I know you two have all the knowledge it takes for the interpreter side of things, but I feel like a lot of people don't get to hear the opportunity for somebody who spends more of their time around the equipment. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to come help.
Yeah, I think it's awesome because I think that a lot of times interpreters, they come into the booth and basically all they do is press a button, but they don't know what's the magic that goes on behind that. So you're like the guy who's teaching the carpenter how to use a saw. Like, this is my analogy. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to listening to this because there's like so much different things going on in the background that interpreters don't know about. Maybe we should start with like the traditional, like the soundproof booth with the interpreter console and the two transmitters. Like, what does that setup look like, and what does it entail?
So it comes down to a few different ways, depending on what's going to fit the room itself and the guest's needs. For the most part, the two main isolation booths that most interpretation companies are going to work with are the tabletop booth, which is a half shield size shield. I'll explain more of that, and your full size your full size isolation booth. Starting off with a tabletop booth, essentially you take a 6 foot table and you have a half of it, or a half of a moon shape, which is basically a sound shield that goes through the front of the table, just so the interpreters can still see through, and you're slightly isolating the audio to where you're not projecting your voice in front of you. This will just minimize the audio just ever so slightly to where basically the noise is staying within the booth. And then you have the full isolation booth, which is what most interpreters know in the convention world, which is a
And
full
love.
yes, exactly. It's just the fact that there is no audio escaping, no audio coming in. You basically have your own bedroom for the afternoon while you work in your studio. So with that, we prefer to use the full isolation booth just because it basically puts you in your own little cubby space, and you get to hide, you get to be you, you get to bring all the energy to the event that all the interpreters want, because that's really what most interpreters care about, is projecting that personality into the event when they're displaying their voice.
Yeah,
So
I have really technical terms for these. For the tabletop booth, I call it the aquarium because it looks like an aquarium and we're just in there floating. And then for the full booth, I call it the bus stop because it's like a bus shelter, like waiting for the bus to come. But
I see that.
but yeah, no, yeah, like Alain said, we all love the booth, the full size booth, and but does that entail like a different voice projection from the interpreters in terms of like if you're in a half shell, like people would still be able to hear you on the other, like if you speak too loudly, I guess.
The
No.
equipment itself, when you're using the tabletop booth compared to the full-size booth, you're still able to, with the other equipment that's being utilized in both booths, you're still able to provide a quality audio. But when You have to reduce the volume of your voice. A lot of times, the most humans will also reduce personality when they have to bring their tone down. So being in the full size booth, it allows you to bring the energy, especially for a lot of these multi-level marketing companies where there's a lot of
Mhm.
motivational speaking. You need that energy to project so you can uh, be matching the energy that they're providing. So that's the pleasure of the full size booth.
Well, actually, I've noticed something when I was in Vegas that I don't really see here in Quebec City. And perhaps if technical people are in Quebec City, they should do that because what you did on top of the booth, um, you put us on how high was I? A platform,
Like a
and we
About a
riser.
were
3 foot riser, yeah.
yeah, and we were much higher on top of being in the booth, and I felt, and then I could basically see the people sitting. I was pretty high, and you can see the stage. We're a bit higher, so I think that even being higher like this gives you an extra presence.
I agree 100%. And it's something I wish we were able to do for more events, but unfortunately, you have to have the right size room to be able to use those 3 foot risers because it is a safety hazard. Luckily, that was a massive event. And with that many people, it was something that I had communication with the hotel about, hey, if you're going to put us side stage rather than the back of the room, give us the opportunity for the interpreters to be able to see everything that's going on. So it was definitely something that I had added. Luckily, I'm very well in tied with that particular casino for that event, so it really did help. But it's some the small things that a lot of people aren't paying attention to that I see as a third party because I'm not. I look at interpreters as the rock stars. I am just the technician setting you up for success. So if I when I'm not in the booth while you're doing your part, I'm catching these little things that I would never have seen if I was the interpreter myself.
But without you, we could not be the rock stars. So like, it's
Appreciate
thanks
that.
to you that
It's
that we
tag
were able
team.
to do what we do. Yeah, and yeah, but there's a lot of interpreters out there who don't feel the same way as we do. We're like that. We're all part of a team. Like there's, I've noticed a lot of conferences where like the interpreters are kind of like they don't really interact that much with the technicians per se. So I like this um what you bring to the table is that we work as a team, basically.
Yeah, a lot
Agreed.
of synergy.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate that having the risers like in such a big room and people going back and forth and blocking your view. Like that's it's such a awesome point. So like if we were gonna say sell this to a client, you'd say like the ideal situation for an interpreter would be to be on that riser, soundproof booth. Now, in terms of the equipment inside the booth, that's the same for the tabletop and for the full size.
Yes, it is. So we use the same equipment for both tabletop and full size booth because we want to be able to give the interpreter the best audio quality as possible and give that guest the best experience when it comes to hearing your voice.
Cool. And is it like digital, analog? Like, how does that
So
work?
to paint a small picture of exactly what is going on inside the booth, whether it be a tabletop or full isolation booth. So as you being an interpreter sitting inside that booth, you would be using. I use medium to full size isolation headphones for you all to be sitting in the booth. The audio would be being sent out from the traditional audio video team to our booth. I use a William Sound IC2, which stands for Interpreter Console number two. We're receiving that XLR audio feed into our console. Headphones are attached from both sides, so you can have two interpreters inside the booth with headsets on. You're listening to your English. On that console, there's an opportunity to switch between interpreter back and forth to project your voice out. So as you're listening to that English, you're projecting out. And then with these interpreter consoles, we do have lots of power for the interpreters, whether it be here adjusting your personal audio, changing the bass, changing the treble, and small adjustments for technicians like myself to come in and make sure the guest is hearing perfect audio. Once you receive your English and you're saying you're the interpreter who's speaking for the moment, we are then projecting that audio from that console out to a Williams sound transmitter, which is it's pumping out that audio through FM radio out to the guest. From there, each of the guests are using a handheld device that can log into, or excuse me, tune in to one of the 14 available channels to make sure we hear everything that's been going on, whether it be one language or all 14 languages.
So you need like one transmitter per language, I guess, like so that you
It's
can do
essentially,
like say,
yes.
like, and it's usually, is it, am I wrong, or is it 72.1 to like 75.6 is the range for the FM?
It's exactly perfect.
You lost me there. What are you talking
Okay.
about?
Here we go. And now we can also talk about the difference between FM and infrared.
And I thought it was all digital. So guys, tell me about the hertz. Tell me about the AM, FM. I thought it was digital. I'm a newbie here.
So it is a little different in Canada. I'm not exactly sure if it follows, but here in America, I do know here in America that for traditional interpretation equipment, being one of the three major companies, being Williams Sound, Listen Tech, and I always forget the third company just because they're not as irrelevant. But with Williams Sound is what we use, which is is literally the highest quality interpretation equipment you can get your hands on. The American Disability Association owns the frequencies from 72.1 to 75.6. That means
What's
that
the American Disability Association here? I mean, sorry.
So that's the association that protects all disability rights for here in America. So say you are going to open up a business and you need to make sure it's handicap accessible. The rules that are put in place are it's a union that follows the same rights. We in the interpretation world follow a lot of these rights because we work with a lot of hard of hearing or a deaf person. So we work with a lot of sign language. So we follow a lot of these union standards as well, and make sure that everyone's getting the best assistance.
So everyone's say if it's FM, like FM frequencies, it's 72.1 to 75.6. And out of that, you can basically truncate it into several different channels within there. So like the participant doesn't have to go, oh, you're on 72.5. It's like you guys converted into actual channel numbers. So like channel 1 is English, channel 2 is French, 3 is Spanish, etc.
Would you get sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a question. Sorry.
No, it's a statement.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you know about the technical stuff, Brian. I didn't know you didn't know it. Yeah, I can see that. I'm discovering something here. But actually, so I thought it was all digital. Would it be a better sound quality if it was digital, or doesn't exist, or doesn't matter?
I guess the question I have for you before I answer that is, what do you consider digital? Like if I didn't understand what digital was, what would be your explanation?
Okay. Let's say I am in my car and I turn on the radio and it's FM. Then okay, AM sounds really far away. FM sounds better. And then if I put Sirius XM, suddenly it sounds really good. That's digital.
Technically, it's okay. I see what you're saying, but technically, in the actual grand scheme of things, they're almost all identical.
No!
Each of them are yes. There is no Bluetooth is literally the only what we could consider a digital audio. Just because it's not using the same frequency situation that that FM or AM radio, or even satellites doing the same thing. It's all using wavelengths to send the transmission to us, where Bluetooth is using something different. I don't have all the knowledge of Bluetooth, but it is a more digital experience. So with FM, since we're using 72.1 megahertz to 75.6, it is very, very low, which means it is a very long and slow wavelength. The great thing about this experience is that means we can get further distances. If your Bluetooth only goes 30 to 50 feet, One of my transmitters can go 1,500 feet. So we're able to
Wow.
get a much larger experience. The same way when we did the event with the steel workers, that event was huge, and we didn't have to add anything to make sure they are extending the signal.
Yeah, because I've noticed also, like with the radio frequencies, that if it's like, say, you get 1,500 foot range, you can actually leave the room and still listen to the interpretation in your
Yeah, I
headphones, right?
saw that. People going to the men's room and they were still listening to the interpretation. I swear I saw it.
They're watching, they're listening to the game. What are you talking about?
And that just happens to happen because we're using such low frequencies. So goes further, high frequencies are faster, but they're shorter distances. We also use these, even though we're talking about this 72 megahertz system, this is only one system. There are others. When I travel, I'm leaving here in 2 weeks for Ecuador for an event. I will use the same exact equipment that I'm going to talk about when I was in Bali and in Sri Lanka and in Tokyo. We use these other systems because the issue is once you start going international, those frequencies are only protected in America. So when you start going
Yeah.
to European countries and other places, we're no longer protected. So we could get stepped on by the common radio station.
And that's
So
where you
they
get into
make other
issues because
systems.
they could distort the sound, and you could be actually listening to a radio station instead of the interpretation.
Exactly. And there's different
Yeah.
systems, there's different interpretation systems, and there's protected ones in Europe. Europe has a 400 megahertz system that we just recently learned about this past couple months.
Oh wow. So there's different. Oh my God, this is like it gets so
Yeah,
complicated, eh? When you're going international.
So
but
we
actually,
use, when we're doing international, we do what's called a 2.4 gigahertz system. Essentially, it's on the
like
same network as your internet.
I was gonna say that's
Okay.
like Wi-Fi.
Yes.
So that's
Now,
why it's when it's 5 gigahertz, I can't be too far from the source. That's
Exactly.
the
The
same
higher the
principle.
number, the closer you have to be.
Oh, okay.
okay.
But I have a question. You're going to Ecuador. I think last time we met, you told me that you guys had been to Bali, if I remember.
Yes.
And you're dealing with Europe and all of that. I know you're called global interpretation, but don't these guys over there have already some equipment that you can use, or do you have to bring all of your things?
You'd be
So,
surprised how weak the services that are being provided in some different parts of the country. Here's a perfect example. I am traveling from Las Vegas to Bali and Sri Lanka with a suitcase or a pelican full of gear or shipping gear from nearby countries if they're larger events, and then providing my own interpreters from the States. That's how bad, I won't say bad, that's the wrong word. I'll say how limited the services are in it's different countries. It's the fact that you would think if an event is in Bali, we could grab Indonesian interpreters from
yeah,
Indonesia. But
or the
Indonesian
equipment.
interpreters or the equipment itself, but it is not. And the fact is, I've been to China for events where I'm buying my equipment from and it's not
China.
available.
Wow.
They make the
Yeah.
equipment
It's,
and they don't use it there. But don't they have events? They have events. They have huge events. Or it's for the
from
interpretation specifically that they're not used to it.
I don't think the service is being provided the way that we are using it in some and out here. Like I see a lot more whisper systems, and I would love to explain what that is so you
Please.
understand
Yeah.
and
Let's
make
do
sure
it.
the guests understand. So, a whisper system is the bane of every interpreter's existence. Let's
Thank you.
get that straight. So,
I
it
heard
is
my throat close.
essentially,
That's
so
true. I whispered
essentially,
all
Yeah.
day.
it is.
It's
It's
painful.
it's tough. It is essentially a portable transmitter that goes about 50 to 100 feet on a good day. And it is a little headset microphone that you're simply sitting in the back of the room. You're lucky if you get some in-ear monitors to be able to hear the English you're working with, and you're whispering into a very sensitive microphone so the guests can at least get some audio. It drives me nuts when I have to see this. So I've at least come up with some creative ways to help interpreters, and I hope all you interpreters out there hear this. There are some of us paying attention to this. I actually purchased about a dozen COVID sneeze shields that we used to use when we were during COVID times.
Those plastic
And
glasses, you mean? Like okay.
yes,
Yeah.
so if you're forced to use one due to budget restraints, or it's just the only way it works, at least we're giving you
Conference
some
rooms?
kind of comfort to kind of
Like
hide
board of
behind your
directors,
shield.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like small meetings, like maybe 10, 15 people or so. You can get away with a portable system. It's not ideal, but it's
So it's like the arc that you were explaining earlier. It's different.
No, same thing. Trifold. No, so the arc is a fully isolate is an isolated shield that is meant to block audio. This is now I'm talking about simply just a piece of plexiglass and a trifold.
I've never seen that before. That sounds really cool.
Just little
Um,
things to help you as much as possible because the interpreters need to feel comfortable in their space.
Yeah, and this comes down to, I mean, we interviewed another interpreter, and they were talking about voice projection, and this kind of feels like the opposite of voice projection. You're trying to control your voice so that you're not speaking too loudly, so that people in the room don't hear you. So,
Brian, Brian, you remember when we had to do interpretation with masks?
yes. Oh my goodness.
Talk about voice
That was
projection
the
here.
worst.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
every word just sounds like you just sound muddled the whole time.
Good thing we don't have to do this on the podcast, or else nobody would listen to us. But to come back to the actual technology, we were talking about radio frequency, and then there's also infrared, or what people call IR, I guess, in the tech industry. Can you explain what IR is?
Yes, IR is going to be the best system for providing audio. The easiest way to explain IR is think about your TV remote. The TV remote that you use, excluding Apple TV products, but if it's just your traditional TV remote uses infrared. Essentially, there's a tiny little eye sitting on your remote control on your TV. There's usually a little red dot or some kind of dot that's on your TV projecting a red light out around your living room, giving the opportunity for that eye on your remote to be in line of sight and communicate with the TV. So in theory, we're doing the same exact thing. When we do infrared, we are putting these large panels, like they're big squares, and they're about a foot all the way, a foot by a foot, and they project a red light across the floor. We rig them from the ceiling, and they're shining the light down to the guests. Then each of the guests, instead of using a radio device, a handheld receiver, they're using a handheld receiver which has a nice shiny red eye on top of it, and that light is beaming down onto it so it can communicate. It gives the best clear audio. We use this a lot for Congress, United Nations, or very high security events where as soon as you leave the room or turn your back to the room, you can't hear audio. You have to be in line of sight. So it makes it to where it's not hackable. You can't tune into it with any random equipment. So we see a lot of high
Unlike the
confidentiality
FM.
style.
Yeah, where
Like
FM,
FM, you can just tune
and
in anything. I could just go buy. I do it all the time. You can buy just random radios that if it goes that low, you tune in anywhere you want as long as you're within distance. With infrared, you have to be in the room, and the eye of your remote has to be seeing the light.
I want to know. I want to pick your brain on what you've heard on these radio channels, but we won't.
Let's just say I've signed plenty. I've had to sign plenty of waivers. Okay, let's just make it. We'll make it nice and easy.
Sounds good. So so the gold standard, it would be IR. If you want to have like a highly confidential meeting where no one else is able to listen, that's the IR system that you would use. Now, like, it sounds complicated, but also it sounds expensive to do the IR. Is that the most expensive product that you would be able to rent out, or?
Yes, it is. It's because there's more pieces that are required and it's most labor intensive. I have to, because if we take a room of like 500 people in an event, we have to hang 10 of those infrared
Right.
lights,
Yeah.
and the labor alone just hanging 10 of those lights, and each of those lights are $2,000 lights. So it gets very, very expensive, and for the guest, I mean for the
$2,000
client,
lights.
Yeah.
$2,000 lights, and they really
USD,
don't
that's
cover as much.
3,500 Canadian.
Yeah. Today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it'll be like 5,000.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it gets very expensive, but it provides amazing product.
yeah. Has anyone accidentally dropped one from the ceiling?
Thank you, God, no.
Oh, yeah. I was like, holding
But
my breath.
when you think about all of these expensive equipments that you have to bring all over the world, there's some issues by carrying them. They might be late.
Customs.
Customs. And if you forget this wire or this piece of equipment, you got to make sure that there's a thorough list. It must be so stressful sometimes, isn't it?
It is very stressful. The biggest fear that any person in my position has is locking the case before it goes. Because when you're literally packing for every possible fail safe that could happen. So, unfortunately, as the technician and the interpreter, the organizing side of things, I have to essentially lose money, a small amount of money every event. It comes to about 3.5% is what we lose every event on
Why?
just protecting ourselves.
Like insurance for the equipment and
Not insurance. I mean,
Oh.
I lose. So whatever the amount of money that we're going to make on that event, 3.5% of that is going to be lost in extra amount of gear to fill up cases and shipping that extra stuff that
I
didn't
see.
need to be at the event, because we have to make sure it's there to protect the client and protect our business.
Yeah,
That's
you need
that's
a
like me
plan.
bringing 3 extra shirts to an event and 1 extra pair of pants, and I come back with my suitcase and I didn't use all these clothes. Why did I bring
Yep.
them?
And he already
Yep.
changes after every break. So like,
Yeah.
It also helps to have a lot of friends around in different places. So if we really have to, you can make moves within 24 hours.
okay. So yeah, but that must be, yeah, you got to have a plan A, B, C, D. Like, oh my god. And how do you deal with the voltage, like the conversion
Right.
from one? Yeah,
Um,
you have to bring your own converters, or
no, those usually they're once I get away from the interpretation equipment, then I can lean on local resources.
okay,
Power, audio, video, and the traditional side of things, I can lean on the house, the casino, the cruise ship we're working with. They usually have that kind of stuff to help us for. And the great thing about our world is if you're going to ask our company to travel 6,000 miles across the world, we're not doing this overnight. So I'm going to have 6 months to prepare and make sure the hotel had the right connections or the right power, or what systems would be best to bring with us. So the bigger the event, the more time I have to prepare for it. So there is a give and a take to this world.
now do you use whenever there's a language barrier in the country you're going to? Do you use interpreters to?
I do.
Okay.
I do. How dare I be an be in the interpretation world and not use interpreters?
I know a duo of great French and English interpreters that you
I will definitely keep that in mind.
Now,
And
sorry. So, like, I guess, like, in terms of going back to the cost, so the most expensive thing would be the infrared because of all the labor and everything, and the expense, like how expensive the actual equipment is. And then when you whittle it down, you're going to the full booth with the radio frequencies, and then is the aquarium, I guess, like the three-sided shell, is that less expensive? And then after that, it's like the bare bones is like the portable transmitter, I guess.
Yeah, and it also comes down to what it is, what the setup is. If you're, sometimes we end up using everything, like all different systems. If you're on the go, of course you're going to use the portable transmitters. If you're if the interpreters need to sit, if there's no back. Sometimes you get these events where there's no backstage. It's so little backstage. Well, we can't do a tabletop booth if you're sitting out on the main floor of a massive general sessions. Sometimes the room only is a 50-person room and the room's only 30 feet by 30 feet. Sorry to use American standards
Yeah, that's fine.
measurements here, though, but that's not going to fit a full size booth when the booth is 6.5 feet wide by 6.5 feet deep. So it really comes down to budget, necessities, what's going to work best for the job. I mean, but sometimes you're forced to do creative things to get the job done because the guest doesn't have the budget or doesn't have the space, or it's not the right setup to do a booth. Sometimes you're on the go.
But the booth, Elijah, you just made me think about the booth. You're going all over the world with a booth. How long does it take to ship the booth? You don't bring on. That's not a carry-on, right?
It's definitely not a that 750-pound booth is not a carry-on.
So how do
It
you
looks
ship it?
like a giant coffin almost.
No, freight companies are amazing, and in most cases, like I said, you're not going to see, you don't the booths really don't travel internationally as much as you think they would. The tabletop booths travel more often internationally, and I do have some resources in Europe if we need full size booths. But when we start getting to like the Bali and the Sri Lankas, they're not looking for booths. A lot of these big international traveling events, they're not what we think, what we expect from our conventions. We're used to just going to a convention, sitting down, enjoying the event. When you start getting to a lot more of these exotic locations, they're 99% of the time they're vacations for the guests. We're just at the pleasure to join these events and tag along. So it's usually a dinner, and they're going to do an award ceremony at a dinner, and then they're going to go on excursions, and then the next day, and then they're going to jump in the hotel for one day to do a training session. So with these kind of back and forth with these exotic trips, you have to have equipment that still protects the interpreter and gives the best experience, but is travel friendly. So that's
Okay.
where the tabletop booth really does become your friend on these large travel events.
Now, what do you do if there's like several different languages? Do they all go side by side? Like, can they hear each other? Because there's no barrier between them, really. Is
You can. So essentially, when you're still in the booth, even though I just recently did an event 2 weeks ago where we had four tabletop booths. The interpreters had their own room by themselves. We had monitors in front of all four of the tabletop booths so the interpreters can see the camera feed, they can see the program feed, the slides going by, and the teleprompter all on one screen. But with
cool.
four of them, I was fearful of exactly what you thought. They're going to hear each other. The audio is going to bleed into each other's microphones. So the funny thing is, I want you to think of my hands as the booths. Instead of them setting them side by side, I tilted them like this against each other with the TV directly here in the middle. One TV in the middle. I tilt them facing each other so they're blocking each other out. And then on the other side, did a mirror reverse. So no
Wow,
one
you're
is
pretty
crossing each
creative.
other's audio. So yes, there
Yeah,
is creative ways to make it happen to where you guys get protected.
that's awesome. Yeah, you thought of everything. Because I was just picturing like four like next to each other, and they're like you can see the guy who's speaking a different
But
language. You
you,
know?
but
It
actually,
happens.
But
Yeah.
actually, when we were in Vegas, I mean, when I was in Vegas last time with the other interpreters, we were like the Spanish and French booth, and then there was a Spanish English booth. We were next to each other, but with that shield there, I couldn't hear the other team, so we were at a proper distance.
And most people you could also lean into the booth, into the tabletop booth, and it will do enough of its job. And if the microphones you're using are high quality enough, we can still make it work. Like I am using providing headphones that have what's called the noise gate on them. So you are not able to be heard unless you speak above a certain amount of decibels before it picks up your audio. So we put what's called a 10 decibel, or excuse me, a 3 decibel noise gate on it. So if you're sitting there just breathing heavy, and say you're huffing and puffing for some reason, breathing heavy, it won't hear you. But as soon as you start to project your voice and get above that 3 decibels, now the system picks up your voice.
So it won't pick up you do it like taking a puff of your e-cigarette, but it'll
Yeah,
pick up
or
your
you
voice.
munching on some chips in between sessions.
Yeah, just make sure they're not too crunchy.
And what about hybrid events? So nowadays there's a lot of remote interpretation. Do interpreters get to travel less, or you still bring them along, or things are changing now?
I will. Well, first thing I want all interpreters who are listening to this to understand is I am a person that fights my butt off to make sure that remote never takes over completely. There is a
Thank
human
you.
aspect that gets missed from remote. And here I'll make a quick story to show of it. I have one of my largest clients, and how we met Judy, or how Judy's a big fan of this company. We have a client that takes us to a lot of very fun locations, and they tried for the last 5 years, every other show, we would lose the event to a remote company that did remote interpreting. And then every time we would come back, they would come back to the next event, say, sorry, we shouldn't have done that. Remote's destroying everything, because you're losing the human aspect. You're getting the job done, but you're losing the tour guide. You're losing the in-between conversation of how we can improve and make things better for you. Once the event is over, they disappear and it's cold. So in person really does save. Yes, we can save money with remote, but you are going to only save a few dollars because internet is ridiculous. So I will continue to push for in person. And if we're using remote, it's usually because we're using a company that already has used our services, and they need something short and sweet to help cover something without having the interpreters in person. And they already know what the interpreters have to offer.
When you're
Yeah,
saying
because like
internet, when you're sorry, but when you're saying internet is ridiculous, you mean like using remote, or what do you mean by that?
So you do save money when you're using remote, because you're not flying interpreters, you're not putting them in hotel rooms. But let's say I would have brought you to an event and it was going to cost $1,000 to fly you to a very far away place, and another $1,000 over the week for a hotel room. That $2,000 I saved by you doing remote, I just spent in internet for 2 days of internet inside of a hotel, because hotels charge through the roof for internet services, especially on the commercial side
Oh,
of things.
yeah,
Here in Vegas, it costs $10,000 a day in most expo floors to have a direct hard line of internet on some of these
10,000?
massive. $10,000. It's
per day.
ridiculous what they do, because we're
Wow.
asking for such a demand of high speed internet. The lowest you can possibly get is $1,000 a day, and that's cell phone speeds.
Yeah, I remember when I was at the Metro Toronto Convention Center about 20 years ago, it was already like at about $300 a day. And I'm assuming it's just gone up exponentially since. I don't know. I haven't.
They know what they have. They know they can
Yeah,
monopolize it.
yeah, and they have the firewalls to prevent you from using other outside sources. Yeah, so it is a monopoly. And so this brings me to maybe like talking about AI, because we have there's a few companies that are doing.
You always want to talk about AI, Brian.
I know,
Oh,
but
I'm so happy. I'm so excited for this.
there's a lot of them, but like I mean, it's speech translation. But like, do you like? I've talked to some AV companies here who are like, oh, like we just lost this contract to a company that does AI interpretation.
Oh, let them. Please take all my contracts. Take all my contracts and come back to me in 1 month. Call me after the event's over. Oh, I love every client. Every client that calls me and says, "I'm gonna sorry, we're gonna go to AI." I love it, because I have gained double the business because of AI. AI is amazing, but not in the right way you think. Here's the
Explain.
issue. Think about when you use your cell phone. How often do you speak to your phone when you text? Either one of you.
Not that often.
I mean, I just send text messages to my wife or something. I just
Okay, well, do you
dictate
speak
it.
text at all?
What do you mean?
Like,
Do you speak? Do you
LOL?
use I use my AirPods. Sometimes I'll hit speak text and I'll speak to Siri and talk and use and have her formate a text message for me
Yeah.
and
I do
send it
that all the
off.
time. Yeah.
How often is it 100% perfect?
Never.
Exactly. So here's the problem. AI is amazing. The human is not. If you were to give me an event, which I have done this, if you give me a televised event, we're going to be 100% scripted from start to finish, and you wanted 15, 20 languages, whatever event you want, I can give you my AI platform, and it will be perfect down to the T because I'm loading the scripts into the system and we are scrolling through by hand. As soon as the human steps on stage and the AI has to listen to the human, it's game over. Because humans slur, they step on their thoughts, they run over themselves, and forget about it if English is a second language. It's impossible.
Which is most people.
No matter how good AI gets, the human's not improving.
That's true. Yeah.
So we are forever like everyone. I had so many interpreters call me when the AirPod 3 Pros came out with the
Yeah, a
speak
month ago.
translation.
Yeah. I tried, and I'll tell you, I tried, and I was at an event in Quebec City, and I decided to turn it on and to listen, but the buffering was so long, and it couldn't keep up, and then it just basically I had a wheel spinning for the rest, like for the few minutes that I tried. It just couldn't keep it. I mean, it's good if I'm in, let's say in China, I don't speak Mandarin, and I want to buy, I don't know, an apple or something, and I'm looking for one. I would have looked for an apple.
Chinese apples.
And Chinese apples. So, but basically, it's just for it's a toy.
It's a gimmick, and you know how awkward it is. I have been actually. So before I finish that sentence, I have as the position I am in my company. My job is to buy everything. I want to buy every technology, rent every technology, use it. I have every single AI app. I have all the toys all the time, and it's tiring to do this, but I have to stay on the cutting edge. And I'll tell you how awkward it is to be staring at your phone and go, "Hey, where is the bathroom?" And you're sitting there for 15 seconds just waiting for it to process. It is so uncomfortable. And that's what the reality is of AI. It's because it has to upload and download from the cloud to get that information. So we are still light years away from AI ever taking over because the public data system that is providing these AI systems through our phone is never going to be fast enough anytime soon to where it can do split second translation. And using it on the commercial side, no way. So like I said, I want all my clients, I don't want any of my clients to do this, but if they say we're going to be cheap and we're going to go AI, please give me a call when it's done. I'm so ready for you to have a bad experience if you're gonna pay attention to AI.
Yeah, I feel like the hype of it was more like maybe let's say 6 months ago, and now it's kind of fading a bit.
Already? Yeah, you
think? Like I find that like in terms of like if I look at my sales for my company, like it did go down at the beginning of 2005, but now it's slowly ramping up. But there was also the tariff war, and there's like the elections in the States, elections in Canada, so people didn't know what to do.
Brian, 2025.
Yeah.
No, you said 2005. That's
2025. Yes.
That time is moved. Yeah, I know.
Edit it on the post production. But so like coming back to the equipment part of things with the booth and everything. So you have multiple booths. You have do you go beyond that? Do you do also like the audiovisual side, or do you stick to interpretation? Like,
No, so we have other research. So we have about 10, no, maybe nine right now. I think we're down to nine full size booth. I think six or seven tabletops, and then the rest is having friends. Like I can do probably as of right now, I can make a phone call and get up to 40 booths. We're never going to do that, but it's too expensive to ship 700-pound booths across the world.
yes,
So instead of doing that, you make friends in locations. And we same thing that how you and I met, Brian. You're not going to ship things from Canada. It's a waste. I'm not going to ship my booths to Canada. So when the time comes and an event goes that direction, you're going to be the first person I call and say, "Hey, either do you have it? If not, who does have it? Let's make friends and let's do this because the client's not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars for shipping. They want local pricing, but they want our services that we've been providing them continuously. So we make friends and we go that path as far as equipment goes.
yeah,
Outside of an go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I find like the customs, like I feel like Canada, US is like the worst for like shipping stuff back and forth.
It is.
In my experience, yeah, like I mean, I did something
We're
in
supposed to be
2000.
friends.
Yeah, I did something in 2008 in Ireland, and it was easier to ship stuff to Ireland than it was to ship stuff to the United States. Like, and I've stopped years ago trying to ship stuff to the United States.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. I get it, and that's why it's easier to have friends, just because, and you
Yeah,
also save. It, you might, as a project organizer, you might lose a couple dollars in the process, or maybe even save a couple dollars, but the stress definitely goes away when you don't have to ship everything across the world.
yeah, because you're renting from other sources, so you have to that goes into your profit, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
The other things that we're doing though is the company helps other. We have different ways that we are included in these events without sometimes interpreters. The one thing that we do in our world is we do a lot of silent expo, or what's called silent theaters or silent discos or silent expos.
Silent discos. What's the what?
Think about a party that you would go to with no
I've seen
speakers.
these. It's weird.
Headphones, just headphones. You walk into a room and everyone's wearing earmuffs like you're wearing right now without the cables connected, wireless headphones, and nice little LED lights wrapped around it. And they're all blinking. They're different colors or they're blinking, and it brings what we call a silent disco party. You have those in well, do those in convention rooms
So people
where
don't talk to each other.
it's weird. They don't
They
talk to each
dance
other. You
with each
can't.
other, but
You
don't
can't.
talk to
They
each
dance
other.
with each other. You can't talk. It's impossible. It feels weird. But when you take, it's weird when like you're cranking music and you're jumping up and down. Then you take your headphones off and it's quiet like a church. It's so different, but people love it.
Yeah.
Um, we also use that equipment for expos. So we just wrapped up an event here in Vegas that has it's how large is it? It's about I'd say about 2 to 3 kilometers wide. I'll make it in reference to you guys. The event
Oh,
is
thank you.
massive. It's the entire Mandalay Bay convention floor.
Okay.
And it's about 1,200 booths on the floor. And we provide that same silent disco equipment for each individual booth. So they can do presentations, and each person can show up to the booth, put the headphones on, and listen to the presentation. Now, do that spanned across all these booths. It's a massive production, but it is a really high quality service for these people to go from booth to booth to learn about the products that are being delivered at these expo floors.
Everything's bigger in
Wow.
America.
We don't have
I'm
that
just
kind
work
of venue capacity
I'm just
in
trying to
Canada.
really okay.
imagine. I'm just trying to imagine this. Like, and I usually have a vivid imagination, but I'd have to see it because, yeah, it's huge.
That's
Let's
awesome,
just
though.
say
Like,
it's there's a couple of events like this. Not many of them, but there are a few. Think of it as have you ever had the pleasure of going to a CES, something like that?
No, never.
CES is the Consumer Electronic
Yeah,
Show,
yeah, of
which
course. I
is
watch.
the
Yeah,
massive one. So those same thing. It's one of those ones where as a technician who working these events or organizing these events, you're walking. It's a 30-minute walk from our boneyard, where everything that meaning that's where all our stuff is, to get all the way to the other side. It's a 30-minute walk, and walking at a decent pace.
It's as
So
big
when
as
you're
a
walking,
Costco.
Oh, it's nuts.
No,
I
no,
think
it's bigger than Costco.
Costco don't
Bigger
have a
than a
chance.
Costco?
Oh, way bigger. I'd say two Costcos.
Bigger than the biggest Costco.
Oh, it's nuts. It is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we don't have that kind of capacity. Like I've been to
We
conferences.
don't have that many people here.
Maybe that's what it is. Because I've been to conferences in like Nashville and Orlando and Vegas, and like the size of the convention rooms are like I think the only place here in Canada would probably be the Metro Toronto Convention Center that could have that kind of capacity. Like there's not those gigantic spaces in Canada.
Yeah, and this event, I think I was about I'd have to guess 15,000 people, maybe between 10 and 20,000 people. It's massive, and there's so many people coming all at once. So you need to have enough space to make sure everyone is having fun. But essentially, between the interpretation and the expo stuff, it's a lot of small stuff. The one I wish I had the opportunity to show photos with you guys. Well, maybe I can share some stuff, and you can share it
Yeah,
with
we can post
all
it.
of and you can post it with all your people. Is we just opened up our interpreter studio.
Okay.
So
Well,
now we're slowly starting to get into the Netflix, the Hulus, the Prime TV. We're trying to get our foot in the door, which we're slowly getting there.
You
Doing
mean like
voiceovers.
dubbing or doing voiceovers? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, doing voiceovers,
ah,
doing dubbing. So when you watch, now a lot of Netflix shows Netflix won't tell you this, but they're making money off these international events. Squid Games, perfect example. Everyone seems to have fallen in love with Squid Games from Korea, and it needs to be it. It got created in 6 different languages, I believe. So they had to bring it to a studio, throw interpreters into a studio, voice over everything, and then pay a separate company to do the closed captionings for it. That's why it seems like when you watch some of
But
these TV shows, the voices don't match the closed captioning.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I've noticed that. But don't they use voice actors? I thought they would have the script and then they would hire voice actors. I did not think that it would be interpreters dubbing it.
No, most of the time it is a studio thing. It's all post production done afterwards.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah. But what I'm saying
basically
is, I'm not a voice actor. I
okay.
wish, but I'm not. So, how do you know? Like, let's say I know how to do interpretation. I don't necessarily know how to be a character in a series.
I can see
So,
that.
how do you match all of these? Or should I actually
So
add a new thing to my career and say, you know what, I'm a voice actor from now on?
you are a voice actor, whether you believe it or not. You are a voice actor. You are a voice personality. Look at you on screen right now, using your radio voice to project this event. When you get in that booth, I promise you, you're not a squeaky interpreter. You are a powerful voice. Whether you just haven't had the right director to put you in the right direction with the right script and the right setup. So essentially, that's the biggest thing that most people forget when it comes to the interpretation world. If you don't get a part, it's not because you didn't have the skills. As an organizer myself, I also have to take into play, where do you fit the script for this particular event? You might have the skill set. You might be a law degree, and this is a perfect law setup for you, but maybe you're not the personality, you're not the voice, you're not the something that matches the whole picture. So there's a lot of other parts that most people don't see, when all they see is I didn't get the part, when there's other components that we're looking at as well.
Yeah, I noticed also like with Netflix and Prime and all those, like when you do the voiceover, it almost sounds like rehearsed, and there's like a script, and like someone is basically inflecting, but not as much as like the original actor, right? So I think
It'll
having
never
that
be as
interpreter.
perfect.
No, but I think having that interpreter, that like, because we do assume a role when we interpret, like we assume the role of the speaker, and I think that would be a really cool asset to have. So like it seems more natural when you're listening to a show in another language to have an interpreter instead of a voice actor.
Agreed, because they're not going to. You still need the interpreter, even though they're a voice actor, because you have to remember, when you're taking you're taking a TV show and you're going to switch it into a different language. Nobody is giving you a script in that language, and then just read the script. A lot of times,
Yeah.
the voiceover gets done first, or they're getting done at the same time by two different companies. That's why when you watch TV, like I said before, if you seeing that the voiceover and the closed captioning doesn't seem to match, it's because they don't match. They're two
Hmm.
different companies working on it. Because with larger production, not a lot of companies want to do both.
Yeah, and we actually did a podcast with someone who did the closed captioning and stuff for video and stuff. Remember Daniel?
Yeah, from
And
he was doing Netflix and all of that.
yeah, and it's all subcontracted. And they were having an issue with the subcontractor who was not paying the interpreters for months, or the translators for months and months and months. So that's why he came on to talk about that. But yeah, it's there's a separation between the original and what they do post production, and you can tell, you can tell that it's not as in sync as it should be.
But just to understand the process, so I imagined that it was going to be the original script, then it was going to be translated, and then you would have some voice actors that would basically narrate on top of the lips from the original. I thought it was it.
No, so if I wish it was that way, and if the way I look at it, it should be done where when the TV show is done, closed captioning should be done first. Then once the new scripts are made, then you can choose any actor you want. Because
Right.
now it doesn't have to, you can just choose an English voice actor and make it perfect. Unfortunately, that's not how it gets done. It basically, here's our TV show, we need closed captioning, we need voiceover, go.
Man, I hope
And they
this expands for you, because this sounds awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, the great thing is we have the tools to do both, and
Mhm.
nobody loves closed captioning. Any translation in general is very time consuming and very taxing mentally. Everybody wants to do interpretation just because it feels like you deliver a better product with your voice than you do standing behind a computer and just typing. But some people love it. But
A
yes,
lot of people also they like to look at their phone also every once in a while, and then you lose a bit of the what's happening because you didn't see what the caption was. It's like,
exactly.
and the murderer is, oh, look at this, I
Yes.
got an Instagram post.
Actually, I always use the original version, and I do the subtitles. Personally, I mean, I'm not I mean, let's say I watched Squid Games. I watched it in Korean, and then I read the subtitles for some reason. I have a hard time with the lips not following the sound, but
I see that.
that's just a personal preference.
I agree 100% with you. When I'm watching a TV show that has where we're listening to English and the subtitles are off, I have to focus on one
Hmm.
because, like most of us, when the subtitles are on, I'm using the subtitle cues to be able to hear the audio more clearly. So when they're off, my brain's malfunctioning.
Now, I have a question going back to the conferences.
Mhm.
Did you say that you can provide a feed to the interpreters of the teleprompter?
Yes. So
Yeah, I did it
here's the
in
thing.
Vegas. That's what I had it in Vegas.
Oh my
I
God.
had one screen with the teleprompter on it. It was
I
amazing.
have I have never had that experience, but I want that experience.
And you had a terrible, and it's great you think it was an amazing experience. In my opinion, it was terrible for the screen because it didn't live up to my expectations. If you're going to have a monitor in the booth, it needs to have more than just a teleprompter. Luckily, they only gave us two options because the screen was so small. It was going to be there's a camera feed, the program feed, which are the slides of the event, and then the teleprompter. You either get all three on the screen or you get one. You can't pick and choose. They
But I
didn't
could see
have.
the event right in front of me, so it was fine.
Agreed. Agreed. But it's still nice to have that camera view. Being able
Mhm.
to see, interpreters want to see expressions on faces because it helps. it helps you mentally to prepare and try to dish out the emotions and match the voice. It really does keep you on your game. And for someone who doesn't actually interpret, I understand it because I read your body language, and I can't read your body language from 100 feet away and side profile.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
no
how
kidding.
you saw it.
And I find that there's a lot of venues too where like the you're so far in the back of the room that you can't see what's like the fine print in the PowerPoint presentations. So yeah, that would be the ideal. I agree with you. But I've never done that. I had the teleprompter experience. I would love to have that.
It just
But I
has to be
think
the right event.
yeah, but I think we had someone on our podcast recently that said that they have an app that does that for them, or like a program on the web. Alain, do you remember that? There was, I think it was a list of the Japanese interpreter.
I would be if I
Oh, that
heard
was,
someone say they were
yeah.
using an app, I'd say be careful.
Interprebank, and but it was based anyway.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm curious to know, just because now you got me curious. So you're talking about an application that listens to the and then makes a teleprompter out of it.
I tried actually on my computer, but I couldn't make it work. So
I wouldn't trust that. It goes right back to using AI again.
Yeah,
So where
because
it's like you're taking the risk.
the teleprompter, like all the script is done
yeah,
pre-conference, right?
when I tried it, basically when I tried it, I could not. I could make it make like I could put my own feed, and it was putting my own script on, but not what I was listening. So I could never make it work that way. But anyway, okay, 1 second. So guys, we're shy of an hour. We had a very long discussion on the technical aspect, but unfortunately, we have to go.
Any parting words, Chris, before we end?
No, I would say thank you so much for having me on the show. I just keep in mind for all of my interpreters out there, keep doing what you're doing. There are companies like myself that are fighting really hard to keep us all in the business. And don't stress over AI. We're going to be here for a while. And just keep doing what you do. And please share your knowledge with younger generations. We need to keep this business alive. And the longer we keep sharing it, the longer we can stay in business, because this industry is slowing down a little bit. And I'd love to see it continue.
Yeah, and I've never seen anyone like as like technicians like I've worked with several of them, but you have that passion that I don't see often in technicians to try to provide the best of the best for the interpreters, and I really appreciate everything you did for us in Vegas. That was like you said it wasn't up to your standard, but we loved it. We thought it was great.
No, but I have to say, Chris, this is the first time I ever hear someone from your side of the event who actually seems to care so much about the interpreters. I felt it when we met in Vegas. I really feel your passion for it on the podcast. And really, this is really amazing. And I really look forward for us to collaborate again, because, if you put the technical people on one side and the interpreters on another, it's not as good as if we're all working together.
Yeah.
Of course.
And whether you're in Bali or Botswana or Bolivia, it's called global interpretation.
Thank you so much. And I hope you do share my contact information or my email somewhere for your podcast listeners. And please, if you're an interpreter out there and you're looking just to make more friends, I'm more than happy to receive emails. Just give me your information. Let me put you in my roster. And we might not cross paths that often, but it's always nice to have another friend like myself in your back pocket, just in case we cross paths. I love the whole point of this business is networking and having all the resources anywhere we can find it. So I hope we do cross paths for all those listening.
Absolutely.
On that, thank you very much, everyone. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, comment, and contact Chris. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone.
See you next time.
Take care.
Take care.